Hey everybody, it's Tuesday, and I'm gonna start off, well, the whole video's in response to valid criticism. Hey, remember I said it does happen? Yeah, somebody on Twitter reminded me that I said I was going to cover the idea of dog whistles on Feedback Friday, and then I didn't get to it because the Star Wars thing, took about 40 minutes to unpack. So that's totally fair. And you're right, it did slip my mind, and I apologize for that. And so now I'm gonna talk about it because it was, it came out of the Terry Gilliam video I did about the video he did in The Independent, and I commented it at one point that he stumbled into dog whistle territory. Yes, Delilah, are you objecting to the idea of dog whistle? Would you prefer it be a cat whistle? Do you want to come up, say hi? Say hi. Here's Delilah. Delilah's gonna help. Okay, honey. There we go. Yeah. Yes, snuggle kitty. Yeah, Delilah's cute girl. So, okay, dog whistles, now with cat. Yes. So I said that Terry Gilliam stumbled into it, like he invoked the dog whistle, the diversity in thought dog whistle. And some people got upset about that. And I said, no. I never intended to claim that he did it deliberately. That is just, that's the problem with dog whistles. The whole idea of a dog whistle, like, a literal dog whistle, that it's a whistle that human beings can't hear, but dogs can because they can hear a higher frequency. And that's the problem with political dog whistles, that they are a real thing, but they mean different things to different people. So if you're not the intended audience, you don't understand what the meaning that nobody else can hear is, right, Delilah? Right, yeah, per girl. And so to be clear, I'm not saying Terry Gilliam deliberately invoked a dog whistle. I'm saying that he said something that other people have used as a dog whistle. And so I understand why some people had a bad reaction to that. And dog whistles are not just a theory. They are a confirmed political tactic that is very associated with the Southern strategy in the U.S. And, Terry Gilliam is originally American, even though, he's known for being part of a British comedy troupe. He is American, so he would have some passing awareness of the Southern strategy. He may not know about the connection to this sorts of things, but for people who are not American and aren't necessarily aware of Southern strategy, people didn't find my explanation of ships clear enough. It went by too fast, so I'm going to be very careful to define terms now. But the Southern strategy was a known electoral strategy to appeal to white voters in the South by invoking racism after the dismantling of Jim Crow. And so, it's a top-down narrative, it says, of political realignment of the South, which suggests that Republican leaders consciously appealed to many white Southerners' racial grievances in order to gain their support. And it works, unfortunately. There are some scars in the South. And I want to say, not all white Southerners. And that's why dog whistles are so effective. One of the examples that is used of a very effective dog whistle is the idea of states' rights. And some people truly believe in anti-federalism, in the idea that the state should be the main body of power in America as opposed to the federal government. Other people use it to talk about, things like Jim Crow laws with a nudge and a wink, and wasn't it better when we could do that? And that's the problem with a dog whistle. They're insidious because sometimes you can tell if a political operative is invoking this kind of language, reasonably certain they know what they're doing, or they should know what they're doing. They should know what they're invoking. But a regular person who isn't necessarily so politically savvy could have just heard it around the dinner table somewhere and didn't know the additional meaning. And so these dog whistles can spread through culture very insidiously. And it was Lee Atwater, a strategist for President Reagan, among other things, was on. It wasn't supposed to be on the record, but it was recorded in the 1990s, reported on in 2005, and then published the audio recording of Lee Atwater basically explaining how the dog whistles of American Southern racism worked. And I can't actually read the quote or show the quote verbatim because it's now words you can't say. But I will approximate so people know. And so the quote Atwater says to the questioner, as to the whole Southern strategy that Harry S. Dent Sr. and others put together in 1968, opposition to the Voting Rights Act would have been a central part of keeping the South. Now you don't have to do that. All you need to do is keep the South is for Reagan to run in place on the issues it has campaigned on since 1964, and that's fiscal conservatism, balancing the budget, cutting taxes, the whole cluster. Questioner, but the fact is, isn't it, that Reagan does get to the Wallace voter and to the racist side of the Wallace voter by doing away with legal services, by cutting down on food stamps? And Atwater says, y'all don't quote me on this. You start out in 1954 by saying N-word, N-word, N-word. I'm not saying Edward, I'm saying N-word, that N-word. By 1968, you can't say N-word. That hurts you, backfires. So you say stuff like forced busing, states' rights, and all that stuff. You're getting so abstract now that you're talking about cutting taxes. And all these things you're talking about are totally economic things. And a byproduct of them is that blacks get hurt worse than whites. And subconsciously, maybe that is part of it. I'm not saying that. But I'm saying that if it is getting that abstract and that coded, that we are doing away with the racial problem one way or another, you follow me? Because obviously sitting around saying we want to cut this is much more abstract than even the busing thing, and a hell of a lot more abstract than saying N-word, N-word. So any way you look at it, race is coming on the backbone. That might be very circular for some people going, huh? But that was basically Lee Atwater admitting to a consciousness of Southern strategy dog whistles and how they end up grafting on to otherwise non-racialized economic policy because it becomes so abstract, so coded that it's like a translation of a translation of a translation that only a certain portion of the population who has been primed to receive that message gets that message. And it happens in politics all the time. There was a particularly awkward version of it up here in the election campaign that caused Stephen Harper to lose to Justin Trudeau when Trudeau started off the election in third place. That Harper hired an Australian consultant. Don't know why. Australian politics are very different from Canadian politics, but who had a reputation for encouraging wedge issues in campaigns. And Harper referred to old stock Canadians in a debate. And a lot of people went, what? Old stock? Like, is he calling a soup? Like, are we on a shelf? What? But old stock Canadians is a very, very old term. There's another term in Quebec called pure laine, which means like pure wool, which means it's white. And old stock Canadians meaning like the original upper and lower Canada. That's what Ontario and Quebec were called before they were Ontario and Quebec. Like the American equivalent would be came over on the Mayflower, right? So it was a reference to immigrants being less Canadian than anyone else. And I have no idea for the life of me why he did it. But it does happen in politics quite a bit. It's a real thing. And so I want to be clear. I'm not saying Terry Gilliam deliberately invoked it. But that is an example of, yes, diversity of ideas is very important. The whole idea of getting different types of people in a company is so that you get different types of ideas. You're not all drawing from the same pool. But diversity of ideas has been used as a dog whistle to basically go, we don't need people who look diverse as long as we get people who think diverse. And that's a way to avoid, what back in Reagan's day would be called an affirmative action hire. And I don't think Terry Gilliam meant it that way. I don't. And that's what makes the whole thing so insidious. So that's what I was trying to say. I see where he's coming from. I agree that it doesn't matter how different people look on the outside if they're all spewing the same crap coming out of their mouths or from their keyboards, right? The whole purpose of getting people from different walks of life in is for different perspectives. There's nothing, absolutely nothing wrong with thinking that, right? But it does step on territory that people fairly associated with that abstract coded language that is connected to some racism, or at least denial of equal opportunity for people in an outgroup. So that's basically what I was saying, and that's how dog whistles work. And it's insidious. It's difficult. I really do sympathize with anybody who's frustrated by this, because you see an idea that seems like a good idea to you, and you repeat it, and then you get accused of dog whistling. But you didn't hear the dog whistle. You took the thing at face value. That's why dog whistles so insidious. They allow certain coded messages to spread through people who aren't aware of them to maximize their distribution to people attuned to hearing the dog whistle. Does that make sense? Hopefully that makes sense. And that's what I was getting at there. So there, made good. I apologize again for forgetting. I got so obsessed with the Star Wars thing. But there we go. I forgot to do the Patreon thing. Help support this channel. Become a monthly patron. Patreon.com/LeannaK. If you like this stuff, because I know the YouTube algorithm will not be big on what is a dog whistle in politics. But it's a make good. I did promise to talk about it. So there we go. Like I said, sometimes criticism is good. And I should say it was mild. If the person's going, oh my God, I wasn't criticizing you, they were very good about it. But it was, hey, you forgot. It's true. It's true. It happens. So for the record, responded to criticism, found it fair. It was polite and not mean-spirited. That's the way things work. And that almost sounded like Beelzebub, didn't it? That wasn't a dog whistle. That was face value. Okay, everybody. Thanks for watching.